Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into a Java feature that's way more than just a little convenience. It's an absolute game changer for writing clean code. We're talking about Enums, and you're about to see how they can take messy, bug-prone code and turn it into something that's safe, organized, and surprisingly powerful.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the old, messy way of doing things. Then we'll introduce the solution, the Enum. After that, we'll break down why they're so much better. And then we'll uncover their secret identity as powerful classes. And finally, we'll talk about how you can start using them right away.
All right, let's get into it. To really understand why enums are such a big deal, you first have to appreciate the kind of problems they were created to solve. I bet you've seen this a million times. You've got a limited set of states for something, right? Like an order status. It can be new, processing, or shipped. And what's the first thing we often do? We just use plain old strings to represent them. Seems simple enough, but the trouble it can cause. Now, a slightly better approach is to define these strings as static final constants. At first glance, this looks pretty organized, doesn't it? You've got all your statuses in one neat place. But, and this is a really big but, this approach is hiding some nasty traps that can lead to some seriously painful bugs. So what's the real problem here? Well, first off, it's not type-safe at all. A method expecting an order status will happily accept any string you give it. Pending? Sure. Delivered? Okay. Pizza? Why not? The compiler has no idea what you meant to do. And then there's the classic typo. You accidentally type shipped with 2 Ds, and guess what? Your code compiles perfectly fine, but your program breaks at runtime. Good luck finding that one. Okay, enough with the problems. Let's talk about the hero of our story, the thing that solves all of this elegantly. Let's bring in the Enum. And wow, just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got that clunky class full of strings. But on the right, it's just so much cleaner. It's a single elegant Enum definition. We're not just listing strings anymore. We are creating a whole new distinct type called order status. So what exactly is an Enum? Well, the name is short for enumeration, and that's pretty much what it is, a complete list of all the possible items. It's a way for you to create your own special type and say, hey, any variable of this type can only be one of these specific values I've listed, and absolutely nothing else. The classic example that everyone uses because it's just perfect is the days of the week. I mean, think about it. There are exactly 7 of them, that list isn't going to change, and they're all part of one concept. This is the perfect job for an enum. One neat little block of code, and you're done. Okay, so we've established they look a lot nicer. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty of why they are just fundamentally a better way to write code. It really all comes down to 2 things, safety and clarity. This little showdown table says it all. Check out that first row, type safety. It's a big fat no for constants and a resounding yes for enums. But then, look at the next 2 lines. Can enums have methods and store extra data? You bet they can. And that's something a simple constant could never do. Honestly, if you only remember one thing from this explainer, let it be this. Type safety is the single biggest win. With our order status enum, a variable of that type can only hold one of the values you defined. If you try to assign it anything else, your code won't even compile. That typo bug we talked about earlier? Poof, it's gone. Caught by the compiler before your code ever has a chance to run. That's huge. And what this does for readability is just fantastic. You get rid of what we call magic strings. Instead of passing around a vague string like new, you're passing order status.new. The code instantly tells you not just the value, but the kind of value it is. Your code basically documents itself, making it so much easier for you or anyone else to understand. But wait, there's more. The benefits don't just stop at safety and clarity. This is where things get really, really interesting. Enums have a secret identity that turns them from a simple list into an incredibly flexible tool. And here's the secret. In Java, an enum isn't just some primitive list. Under the hood, it's actually a special kind of class. That's right, a full-on class. In each of those constants you define, each one is an actual object, an instance of that enum class. This is what people mean when they say it's syntactic sugar. On the left is the nice, simple enum code that you actually write. On the right, well, that's more or less what the Java compiler turns it into for you behind the scenes. You get all the power of a class without having to write all that messy boilerplate code. It's pretty awesome. So what? Why does this matter to you? Well, because they're classes, you can do all the normal things you do with classes. You can add fields to store extra information, you can add methods to give them behavior, you can even have constructors. This is what elevates enums from just being a list of names to being a truly powerful programming construct.
Let's look at a quick example. Here we're defining a super simple enum called level. It's got 3 constants: low, medium, and high. Nice and clean, right? And now we can use it just like any other type. We declare a variable, myvar, and we say its type is level. The compiler will then make sure we can only ever assign it level.low, level.medium, or level.high. There's that crucial type safety again, enforced for us.
And as a bonus, Java gives you some incredibly useful methods for free. The values method returns an array of all your constants, which is perfect for looping through them, say to populate a drop-down menu in a user interface. And valueOf is great for safely converting a string back into an enum constant.
All right, let's bring it all home. We've seen how to go from a fragile system of strings to a powerful, safe, and object-oriented tool. So the big question is, when should you be using these?
Here's the key takeaway. Anytime you have a fixed, known set of values, an enum should be your go-to tool. Think days of the week, user roles in your application, menu options, or different states in a process. They provide safety, clarity, organization, and a surprising amount of power, all in one neat package. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Look at the code you're working on right now. Where are you using magic strings or maybe integers to represent a fixed set of options? Because making the switch to an enum is one of the easiest and most impactful ways to start writing safer, more professional code today.